O Mother Nui, stretch high above this valley. Your starry body is our glory. Then see the hawk of yonder Ahurquit, his fiery splendor, oh so mighty. He brings a light for all our weary souls. He makes the broken spirit whole.
If you've seen, like, the 1973 film The Exorcist, you probably already know Pazuzu as this ultimate symbol of satanic evil.
Oh, yeah.
Right. But what if I told you that back in the 8th century BCE, pregnant women actually wore his face as a protective shield?
It is quite the historical rebrand.
It really is. Today we are bringing you a deep dive into an academic analysis of modern occult discourse. We really want to see how this misunderstood ancient guard dog became a 20th century psychological tool for, well, total ego death. So, okay, let's unpack this.
Well, the key to really understanding Pazuzu is looking at the actual archaeological record. I mean, before Hollywood got hold of him, his primary role in ancient Mesopotamia was actually apotropaic.
Meaning he was used to ward off evil.
Exactly,
Right.
rather than being the evil himself. Women in ancient Mesopotamia wore amulets of his grotesque, snarling face. But the trick was, they didn't wear them facing inward, they wore them facing outward.
Oh, to face the threat.
Right. The whole logic was to use his terrifying image to scare off Lamashtu.
And who was she?
She was a much more dangerous demoness who specifically threatened childbirth.
And his physical description in these sources is just wild. I mean, he has this canine face, a scorpion tail, and specifically 4 wings.
Yeah, the 4 wings are crucial.
Because they represented his totality over the winds, right? It makes me think, was Pazuzu basically just an ancient, scary guard dog meant to frighten away worse intruders?
That is a great way to put it. That duality is really the foundation of ancient magic. You use horror to ward off horror.
Fight fire with fire.
Exactly. I mean, he was the bringer of the destructive southwest wind, sure, but his sheer ferocity made him the only entity capable of protecting the domestic sphere from even greater chaos.
Okay, so if Pazuzu is the ultimate guard dog of the physical world, how did occultists start using him to guard the mind?
Well, that transition happens through another figure entirely, Choronzon. He first appears in the 16th century diaries of John Dee, which is deeply tied to Enochian magic.
Which was essentially a Renaissance-era system for trying to communicate with angels.
Right, exactly. And then Aleister Crowley later expanded on him. But the thing is, Choronzon isn't a traditional monster with claws and fangs. He is known as the Dweller in the Abyss, or a demon of dispersion.
I'm struggling to see the connection here. How does a demon of dispersion guard the mind or help with something like ego death?
Think of dispersion as the breaking apart of a cohesive self. Choronzon represents a trap of meaningless ego aggregations.
Wow, okay.
Imagine a fractured reflection of your own internal inconsistencies. It is this raving void of illusions endlessly shrieking, I am I, while possessing absolutely no true substance.
So what does this all mean?
Well, to cross the metaphysical abyss and achieve enlightenment, a practitioner has to surrender their individual ego. If they cling to their I, they get dispersed or broken apart by Choronzon.
He is basically the ultimate roadblock of our inner illusion.
Exactly.
But wait, we have an 8th century BCE Assyrian wind demon and a 16th century Renaissance abyss dweller. How did 20th century occultists possibly fuse them together?
They bridged that gap using the Tythonian tradition. That was pioneered by Kenneth Grant, and it relies heavily on gematria.
Which is that ancient system of numerical cryptography, right? Where letters correspond to numbers.
Exactly, meaning every word has a mathematical value. In this specific system, the letters in Pazuzu add up to 107. That corresponds to the concept of the messenger.
Okay.
And Choronzon adds up to 333, representing dispersion.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. Because if you add those together, 107 plus 333, you get 440.
Yep.
And in this esoteric math, 440 represents annihilation. Pazuzu is essentially framed as the physical mouth bringing the psychological howl of Choronzon into the world.
Which is brilliant. That synthesis creates a unified mechanism. They become 2 functional aspects of the exact same cosmic force.
But I have to push back on this. Isn't this historically and logically flawed?
Oh, completely.
I mean, it sounds like open source software coding. They are taking a snippet of ancient Assyrian code and pasting it into an entirely different Renaissance operating system just to see if the program will run.
Academic critics absolutely agree with that assessment. They point out the glaring anachronisms. This is especially true of a 1970s grimoire called the Simon Necronomicon, which really popularized this mashup.
Yeah, I bet traditionalist occultists despise the mixing of distinct systems, too.
They really do. But what's fascinating here is how modern chaos magicians approach this.
How do they even justify the historical inaccuracies?
Well, to a chaos magician, belief is simply a tool. They treat these systems not as objective historical truths, but as psychological hacks.
Oh, I see.
By assigning a terrifying face, like a four-winged demon, to their own abstract anxieties, the practitioner gives themselves something concrete to defeat.
So if performing a ritual combining Pazuzu and Kronzon successfully causes that profound psychological shift, the mechanism worked.
Exactly. The psychological result validates the synthesis.
Wow. So the history might be fake, but the human experience is very real. Whether you view this as actual magic or just a fascinating lens into human psychology, it shows how we inherently need to personify chaos in order to master it.
You really do.
We're still setting up those scary guard dogs at the edges of our minds to protect ourselves from the void, which leaves you with this final thought. If modern practitioners can achieve genuine, life-altering psychological transformation using the Simon Necronomicon, despite it being a synthesized 20th century creation, at what point does a fake myth become a genuinely sacred text?